Hello and namaste, my beautiful friends. I'm Jill Loftus of Nuit Astrology. Welcome to your planetary energy forecast for the week of August the 11th, 2025. Now, I am filming this on Friday, and we are in the midst of preparing for this powerful full moon and some very tricky aspects over the weekend. We still enter the week with a little bit of that tension. We still have Mars, in somewhat a difficult configuration, standing across the sky in the sign of Libra from both Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries. And so this is creating definitely some tension. And opposition is kind of like a tug of war, a push and pull. And this has been between the action planet in the sign of partnership and the planet that has to do with structure, rules, and discipline in the sign of Aries, which is the very beginning of the zodiac and is very enthusiastic and independent and not necessarily interested in partnering. It is also Aries, the sign that Mars prefers to be in. So Mars is standing across from his own home, and Saturn is there dictating some rules, and Neptune is there offering some confusion and the potential to inspire or spiritualize these experiences. So that alone is an interesting energy. But then we still have, as we start the week, Mercury standing across the sky from Pluto. Now, in a good sense, we also have Mercury stationing on Monday the 11th, stationing direct, beginning to move forward in the sign of Leo. But it still has to retrace its retrograde phase. So it really isn't fully out of what we call the shadow period until we get to August the 25th. But you still might get some interesting information that flows through on Monday as the planet begins to move forward. It may give you a little bit of a hint as to what you are really reconsidering, repairing, or rethinking in the Leo area of life. And again, that pressure on Mercury coming from Pluto, well, that's the energy of the underworld, the energy of darkness, the energy of destruction. And there's something here also about the axis between leadership Leo and the masses, the groups of people that Aquarius tends to rule. Pluto also is a sign or a planet that has a lot to do with masses or groups of people. So there's a definite push-pull here. Do watch, though, because there is a benefic blessing coming through this week, as well as Jupiter and Venus walk hand in hand in the sign of Cancer. Now, Venus moves much more quickly. So she will approach Jupiter. They will walk together for a couple days, and then she will move on. But I would say that this conjunction, this meeting of the benefics, will be in play most of the week, particularly at the beginning of the week. And the other thing is once Venus moves past Jupiter, she actually gets handed off to a beautiful blessing with both the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo. And so Venus is really something to lean into this week. What you love, what you're passionate about, thinking about resources, thinking about family. The energy of Cancer is very much the energy of the mother and the nurturer and the caretaker, and is also the energy of what is happening, what is reflected back to us, what is intuitively transpiring. So definitely you might be feeling a little bit of that amplified intuitive sense of things. Do watch, though, even with the benefics, there can be the shadow of indulgence. There can be overspending, particularly on the home or for creature comforts in the sign of Cancer. So be a little cautious about overindulging this week. Now, there is a moon void from the 11th into the 12th. It's not super significant, but do check the moon void chart for your time zone. I'm also watching because Mercury starts at the beginning of the week to connect beautifully with Mars. So not only does Mercury station and begin to move forward, it picks up this lovely connection with Mars in Libra. So from Leo to Libra, there's something here about communicating better, about having tough conversations and having them go really well. about really speaking your mind authentically and really stepping into your conversational power, especially with people that you might work with or collaborate with, or with romantic partners. So this could be exceptionally helpful, and this really goes on for quite a while. You'll experience it as we start the week, but it will carry us through almost all the next 2 weeks. So really enjoy this traction that you'll get. I think you'll really significantly feel that forward motion of Mercury as it receives an escort by Mars. Now, we will watch another moon void in the evening for East Coast time on the 13th at 6:54 p.m. until 9:22 a.m. Eastern. So when you wake up, do adjust that for your time zone. We also have another significant one on the 16th in the middle of the night, 1:12 a.m. Eastern until 12:01 p.m. Eastern on the 16th. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, when we get this Venus connection with the nodes later in the week, this is definitely something to keep an eye on, because while Venus is speaking to them very nicely, that will be great. But she's kind of clearing the way because Jupiter will be coming into beautiful contact with them in September. So this is something to really begin observing. What is she showing you in the Cancer area of life? How you need to connect more to that Pisces? How do you connect more to that the realm of the unseen, the idea of being deeply creative, immersed in what it is that matters to you, really exploring other ways of perceiving and perception. This is marvelous for your meditation. This is marvelous for any of this esoteric work. It's a good way to kind of give yourself some excellent perspective on some of the things that are happening in the world right now. She will also be blessing up that South Node in Virgo. And so discernment, wisdom, yes, there's a right way to do things, but you can't get too hung up on doing it only your way, right? So finding this beautiful balance between inspiration and perfection, finding this beautiful harmony that can come from caring for something that's bigger and greater than you. This is why one of the gifts of life, truly in my estimation, is to become a parent, to have this child, which all of a sudden, there's something more important than you in the world. There's something that you care about more than yourself, at least in most cases. It also gives you hope for the future. It makes you care more about the future, all right? So this is, even if you don't have your own children, you may really feel that sense of uniting with mothers and women everywhere to want to create a better world for the children that are growing up in this one. So I hope you found this useful and helpful. Really fascinating Celtic Cross on the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. I decided instead of worrying about the difficulties, which I tend to focus on, it's just the way my brain works, let's focus on the abundant possibilities. So the Celtic Cross is on that Venus-Jupiter conjunction. And be sure to take a look at the Isis Lotus tarot spread that I posted yesterday. There was a lot of crossover between the two tarot readings. So stay tuned for that Celtic Cross. Hello, my beautiful friends. Namaste. Let's take a look at something positive, shall we? Let's talk about this gorgeous conjunction, which means they're walking hand in hand and around the same degrees. Conjunction of the two benefics of Venus and Jupiter, which are a strong feature at the beginning of this week, and something I think that will help us with some of these other tricky aspects this week. So Celtic Cross on how to maximize the use of the benefics, but also not go overboard, right? You know, this does not mean buy everything in your Amazon cart. Venus, Jupiter does not mean you eat all the things and drink all the things and buy all the things, even though it can sometimes be that kind of being too optimistic, right? Or overspending, overindulging. So what's the best way for us, the collective, to handle this energy this week? All right, we're starting at the top. Yes. Okay, the first card is us, the moon. So it's interesting because the moon rules Cancer, and both Venus and Jupiter are in Cancer, and it is a place that they kind of like being. Jupiter in particular loves being in the sign of Cancer. So this is about being emotionally attuned, being emotionally intelligent, staying connected to intuition, maybe spending more time in water, maybe asking yourself how you feel instead of what you think. And of course, focusing on wherever this conjunction is in your chart. Early, like mid degrees. I want to say it's like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of Cancer. What is crossing us? The Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, we're all here incarnate at this moment in time because the wheel is turning in our charts and in the world chart, and we all have a part to play in it. Now, in the past, the Empress, there's been something that we wanted to create, whether it was a new business, some other creative endeavor. Maybe we're trying to just, enjoy ourselves and express our unique talents. Maybe we're trying to have a little extra income or something like that. But there's something here that's very Venusian, which I love because Venus is involved, right? And the future says Queen of Swords. So maybe we need to be a little less of this, ripe and abundant feeling, and instead a little bit more rational, a little bit more logical as we move forward. Now, crowning thoughts, Three of Swords, we definitely have some mixed emotions about what's going on. I'm sure the influence of this Mars, Saturn, and Pluto, Mercury, it's gonna be a little bit tricky. It is. Subconsciously, though, we know we must move forward rationally and logically. Ace of Swords. The advice card, the Star. The Star is the card that comes after the Tower. So this is a hopeful card. This is a card that says, let's take everything that has come before. We create the new. We birth the new out of the breakdown. We heal. We have hope. Outside influence. Getting two cards, Nine of Cups, so definitely getting some good news. And again, water signs, hello, and King of Cups. So there's a lot of positivity here. And it could come from a man or masculine energy who is somewhat intuitive. So somehow that's influencing this situation. What do you want to happen? Nine of Pentacles. Oh, this is so funny. I don't normally do this, but I have already done next week's cards, and I'm going backwards, which don't ask me why I did that, but it's so fascinating because this is a card that features prominently next week. So what we want to happen is we want to feel more empowered. We want to feel like we get to call the shots. We get to make the decisions. We're the architect of our existence, our lives. We have the assets. We have the money. We have the power. This is what we want. We want to feel empowered. Outcome of the Venus-Jupiter. Now I got two cards again. Three of Wands, moving in the right direction, and Queen of Cups. All right, so beautiful. So there is something here about the meeting of the benefics that's asking us to polish up our intuitive sense of things, connect more to those clair senses, right? Clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairsentience. Tap into the scene, to beyond what is just seen with the eyes. And then the Reader's Fan, but by the way, a lot of empowered female cards here. Reader's Fan, Six of Pentacles, put your money where your mouth is. Justice, another important card that comes up next week. There's something here this week that's about what's fair. And I find that interesting because of Jupiter being the lawgiver. Jupiter is the planet of justice. Page of Cups, potential offer this week, so watch for that. That's exciting. And Knight of Wands, really watch difficult, tricky emotions, anger, upset, passion. Try to be a little bit more calm, right? Fire and water don't mix well. All right, my friends. Well, I think this looks like a lovely reminder of how to work with this energy this week. So I hope you have a wonderful week. If this was helpful at all, please comment below, and I'll see you next week. Bye.